well, welcome everyone. I think Nicole is going to share the slides, but we're very happy that you're here and you're participating in the Squishy Science Sunday event. We wanted to provide this volunteer training to make sure people are comfortable with interacting with the public and communicating science topics with the public. I have been told by the organizers of the event that there'll be people of all age ranges at the event, so pre-K to adult. And so we're going to talk a little bit more today about making sure everybody feels comfortable and equipped to interact with those audiences. So with that, I'll hand it back over to Nicole to talk about this prompt on the slide.
Great. Well, one of the kind of tenets of public engagement that we always like to talk about is remembering when we're interacting with the public what our own motivations are. And in this case, we won't necessarily know the motivations of the people attending, but we can kind of talk about that in a little bit. So we would love to hear your goals and motivations. So if everyone could hit enter, and it will flood the chat box with everybody's goals and motivations. And while we're talking, I'm going to look through these and see if I can incorporate some of them into what we talk about. So yeah, we see share of love of science. So we'll talk a lot about that, communicating with people outside the STEM field. So we'll go through these and incorporate them as we go.
Yeah, I love all the share excitement, get people kind of interested in the work you do, positive learning experience. Those are all really great motivations. And I think we'll, as Nicole said, dig into those in a minute. Keep putting your thoughts in the chat. Okay, so who are Nicole and I? We are part of the APS Public Engagement team. Our other team member, the head of public engagement, Claudia Fracula, is on this call, I believe, so she can maybe wave her hand and say hello. If she's able to unmute.
Hi everybody. I'm here. I'm listening, excited to see all of you engaging in this.
So our team at APS aims to support and empower the physics community, you all, to be effective ambassadors for physics, and ultimately promoting widespread participation in physics and physics engagement. And our role at APS is to help strengthen the networks of members who are engaging with the public, and hopefully provide access to resources and training and materials and support for members who are doing public engagement like you all. I also wanted to take a moment to provide the organizers, the people who have with the idea of Squishy Science and are organizing it, if they're on this call, to unmute and say hello. So I think I've seen a few of our organizers. Feel free to unmute and say hello to everybody if you are an organizer.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shobha Tiwari. I'm delighted that you're all a part of this. Thank you so much for your time and effort.
Thanks, Shobha. I feel like I've seen a couple other people.
Hi, everyone. I'm Arpita. Sorry, my video is off, but I've been happy to be part of this initiative and really thank everybody who is participating.
Thank you. Any of our other organizers on the call? Looking at the list. Okay, well, feel free to say hi in the chat if you are an organizer unable to unmute, say hello in the chat. Okay, moving on. We always like to show the code of conduct for APS meetings. It applies to all of our webinars such as this, as well as the March meeting and the Squishy Science event. So we encourage you to take a look at that before, well, now, but also before attending the event, we can grab the link to that code of conduct and put it in the chat for you all as well. Okay, so as a way to frame the training, we thought it would be nice to share with you all some survey data we have from our membership about who in APS engages with the public. So in 2022, we sent a survey to a representative sample of our membership to learn more about who's engaging with the public, how they're engaging, why they're engaging, and barriers they face. And so you are in good company because over 68% of APS members report engaging with the public. And Nicole, if you advance, thank you. There are many different formats public engagement can take. So by and large, or by far, the biggest format that members report having engaged with is public lectures. So you're all probably familiar with that style. If you are located at a university, there are often public lectures that go on to engage with local communities about some of the research or science done at the university. But we also have a lot of members engaged in demonstrations and educational programs. And I think Squishy Science Sunday would fit under those categories. I know there's going to be a mix of hands-on activities as well as demos. And you can also think about formats like social media, YouTube videos, podcasts. So really public engagement spans all of those different formats. And if we go to the next slide, we also have done some research, and I should credit Shams Al Adwi on this, who was our graduate intern who did this research on what motivates our members to engage with the public. And what we found in our research is we have 3 different personas. And so what that basically just means is they're combinations of characteristics of different members and why you might be motivated to engage with the public. So you might identify with our persona Kyle, who loves sharing their physics knowledge. And it seems like people who put their motivations for Squishy Science in the chat, there's definitely some people who fit into that camp. You might also identify with our Tracy persona, who really cares about improving representation in STEM or in physics more specifically. And so that's why they want to interact with the public about science. Or maybe you identify with what we call Rory, the Rory persona, who really enjoys sparking interest and understanding in order to build trust between scientists and science and the public. And you can definitely identify with multiple of these motivations, or maybe another one that's not listed here. All are great motivations to have and guide us in thinking about how to support you all when you interact with the public. Okay, next slide. The other great piece of news that we wanted to share is that almost all of the people on our survey who reported engaging with the public reported a really positive experience. And I hope that those of you who have had experiences with public engagement, they have also been positive. I anticipate, I'm looking forward to a positive Squishy Science experience. And getting more particular, we know that our members, 3/4 of them, say that most public engagement efforts tend to have a positive effect on broader scientific progress. Having talked with Shubha and some of the other organizers, I know that they certainly feel this way, and I'm sure some of you do as well. And we also have, similar to the people who have the percentage of people who have engaged with the public, 68% of respondents to our survey think that most physicists think it's important to engage with the public, as I assume all of you do. We certainly do at APS Public Engagement. And I also, if you're thinking about why you want to volunteer, maybe you're thinking about trying to convince some of your lab mates or colleagues to volunteer as well. There are a lot of, in addition, obviously, to hopefully the benefits we can share with the public, there are a lot of benefits for yourself as a volunteer. So our members report a positive effect on their teaching skills, on their career development and progress, and even on their own research. Often having to explain your research or your work or kind of core concepts that are related to your research can spark new ideas for you as well. So with all of that framing, I think I am passing it back to Nicole to get to some more concrete tips for communicating with the public.
Great, thank you. So we have a collection of just tips and reminders, and we'll even do a little role playing, Allie and I, just to kind of workshop some things that you might encounter. And these are things we found that work really well with a really diverse public, where, you know, we don't necessarily know where they're coming from, what background they have. You know, it could be anywhere from experts to people who have never heard the term you know, condensed matter before. So I think this will give us a broad idea of those types of communications. So as we talked about your motivations, you know, we never really see when people say their motivations, you know, I hope they understand how matter interacts with electric fields, right? So we're really not portraying the details of our science, but the emotional interest of the science and what really got us involved in this. Like, what did we love about it? What did we find really cool and exciting about this type of science? And opening students or participants' eyes of how this affects their everyday lives. How does it apply to them? They took time out of their Sunday to come hang out with us, and what can they bring home with them? What, you know, little tidbits and ideas. And also to encourage participants to start exploring these topics on their own. And thinking about our own goals as we move forward and really having fun, you know, this type of event, really keeping it open to allowing the participants' goals and objectives to come through. We don't know what they are coming in, but maybe asking them what brought them here today, what interests them, what brought them to your stand or your demo, and really trying to cater to the needs of our participants as well as our own motivations. So how to connect, so really valuing everybody's ideas and expertise as they come in. So avoiding savior mentality, the idea that we're there to kind of tell them everything we know, or to kind of fix their ideas. You know, I always think of it as like we're planting a seed, and we're probably not going to see it grow. They're going to be with us for a few minutes, but planting a seed of knowledge that they can take with them. And not being the holder of the knowledge, but really inviting them into the conversation and asking them maybe what they already know or what already interests them, and then going from there. Oops. So again, opening their eyes to new connections, be opening to learning, asking questions, getting to know the participants. And we have heard from a lot of our members that oftentimes when they're interacting with the public, they'll get questions that are seemingly out of left field. But in a lot of ways, it's how our participants are connecting this new information with what they already know. So we have an example that we just wanted to bring up about, and we're going to ask you to participate and just put some ideas in the chat. So we want to run a program called Quantum to Go, which brings quantum professionals virtually into classrooms for a classroom visit. And one of our participants in the feedback said, you know, he was talking about electromagnetic radiation, and one student kept asking about black holes, which his research is not about black holes. So if you're, you know, in the middle of your demo and someone keeps bringing up, let's say, black holes, what are some responses? And feel free to throw them in the chat and we'll voice some of them. What are some responses that you might give to this, say, 14-year-old who's at your stand when they keep asking about black holes during your demo? So throw some ideas in the chat of what you would say or how you would interact.
I'll give you a few seconds to think about that. Are there any questions you might ask? Okay, so Karen says, they might say, I love black holes too. Can you see anything here that feels similar to where you can learn more about it? Or sorry, I just another that feels similar to ideas you've heard about with black holes. Yeah. So connecting, I like black holes too. Where can you learn more about this? That's awesome.
I love that it's a question, right? I think opening that dialogue, seeing where they're coming from, maybe they had a thought that like, oh, what she's saying reminds me of black holes, right? So asking those questions, I think is great. Another question. Oh, go ahead, Ellie, sorry.
No, I was just going to voice, we have another, Shuba in the chat said, they might say, that's a fascinating topic. We can talk about it after I'm done with the demo. I can point you to where you can learn more about it. Yeah, so if you have a group of people at your station, you also have to judge, like, do you kind of shift what you're talking about, or do you finish the thing you're doing and then go into more depth about the particular question? And I think that's a great or a great suggestion of kind of like acknowledging, hey, that's a really good question. That's an exciting topic. I'm going to get back to that. Well, still, if the other people at your station are really excited about what you're doing, to be able to continue with that and then return to the question. Asking the person where they heard about it is another suggestion. Yeah, Kirsten saying, oh, thinking about physics like that is what got me into physics in the first place. Yeah, that's awesome. Connecting to your own experience. And Nicole, maybe you want to say a little bit more about this point of like, so it might seem like a random topic to us, like, why are they bringing up black holes? But like how they might actually be using that to relate the content to their worldview or their life.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we know that nobody comes in as like a blank slate, right? So maybe all of their experience, YouTube videos that they watch, it has been about, some facet of physics, and this is totally new to them, and they're really just trying to integrate what they know with what you're telling them. And any way that you can kind of make that connection with them by asking them is really helpful. I also think asking questions makes it so science isn't done and we don't know all the answers and we're just telling them. So the more we kind of invite their thinking and kind of pull out these connections from them, I think the stickier it is in people's brains, right? It's not just they ask a question and we give them the answer, because that's very typical of what we're used to with like the teacher, that we're the expert and they're kind of these blank slates. So awesome. And we'll talk about some of those other facts about like connecting to where you were. I'm thinking about students, but really anyone, how we can incorporate what they think. And be mindful that everyone's from different backgrounds and different preparation levels. Some people might be walking in with expert knowledge of what we're talking about. And it's not always obvious or visible what people know and don't know based on our biases. And don't assume that people either have a lack or that they know more, right? So we might see an older person and think that they know a lot about what we're talking about versus a younger person. So don't assume, always ask questions to err on the side of caution. Great. So some more tips that we have. I always like to use we, well, I just said but we always like to use we to encourage inclusion. So examples, today we're going to explore the science of foams, not I am going to explain the science of foams today. So really inviting them into the conversation. You'll see people actually lean in, right? If you say we, it's like, oh, we're going to do this? Cool. Let me lean in a little bit more. Sprinkle questions. What do you think? Why do you think that? Have you experienced something like this before? So people were hitting on those types of questions with our little exercise. So even if they don't say something off topic, these questions are always welcome. And use wait time, right? So a lot of times we'll ask a question and there's a little bit of uncomfortability with people, but everyone has different processing times and thinking times. And you might have 2 or 3 people at your station and, someone might give an answer right away, but maybe ask the other person, well, what do you think? Even though they're a little quieter or need a little more time to process. And this kind of came up with some of the comments, like, do we go with what they're saying about black holes and forget what we're doing? Or do we kind of say like, oh, that's an awesome question. Let's think about that in a minute. And it really depends on your demo, right? So there are these different pedagogical stances you can take, and it really depends on what you're doing. So you can have an instructional mode where you really have to direct them in the demo, like we need to do this first and then this, and we're kind of leading them to a given conclusion, whatever that is. All of these are good stances to have. We're not judging them. It just really depends on your demo and to be aware of which one, or switch and see which one works. So instructional mode, consulting mode, you're kind of there to help them facilitate, suggest, you can advise them in which direction that they're going. Or you can just be in participation mode with them. So really playing alongside them as a participant, asking questions and allowing open-ended conclusions. So allowing people to walk away with whatever they got out of it, and knowing that might be different from person to person. So just really thinking about these for your demo. Maybe you can do multiple and switch back and forth and see which one feels best. And we can share these slides with you all at the end, just so you know, you can look over them again if you need to.
And just to
Oh yeah,
add
go
to
ahead.
what Nicole is saying, I think, one of the reasons we asked you what your motivation, or asked you to think about what your motivation was at the beginning of this presentation, is because that should really inform kind of the stance you take. So if you're motivated by, you just want to, give the public a taste of what it means to explore in science, right? Then maybe you really do want to focus on that participation mode and play, and having them just mess around with the materials you have and see what conclusions they come to. If on the other hand, you're really excited to share, a really exciting demo or phenomenon, right? And you want people to see that to conclusion, then maybe you want to veer more towards the instruction or consulting mode. So just thinking about your goals. And I know some of you are bringing activities, some of you are volunteering on other people's activities. So just make sure to have those conversations or reflect beforehand on, what do I really want people to get out of this? And that might affect how I kind of approach interacting with them.
Great. And I just wanted to pause. It's a lot of information. So if anyone has questions or comments, feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll address them as needed. Great. Okay, Allie, up.
Awesome. Thank you. I was muted. So we have found, not just we, research has shown that storytelling has been shown to be a really great science communication technique for connecting with non-expert audiences, and connecting them with information about science and technology and research. And this is because narratives are often easier to understand, and audiences find them more engaging than traditional logical or scientific communication that we might think about if we were, on Monday of March meeting, communicating our research to an audience of peers at one of the scientific sessions at the meeting. Anecdotes and analogies also work really well to explain complex ideas in age-appropriate ways. So again, always thinking about, how does this connect to someone's life? What is something that maybe they can relate to that is similar to the process or phenomenon that I'm trying to show? And also just a note about stories. So a story is not just a fact, right? So I am a scientist is not a story, but telling someone how you got into science, some of the challenges maybe you faced, or how you got into the studying what you study today, that is more of a story. So stories have beginning, middle, and end. So this is the image on the screen is the arc of a story, right? Usually starts with some introduction, and maybe there's some action, some conflict that peaks, and then there's a resolution, and that is what engages all of us in stories, right? Be they about science or not. And so we encourage you to think about if there are questions from the public about, why do you study this topic? Or how did you get into this? To think about kind of your story in this format of kind of beginning, middle, and end. I think we can go to the next slide now.
Okay. And an example of that, we kind of touched on this, but you can act as a STEM role model while you're here. You will be, whether you know it or not, just by showing up. And so when we are STEM role models, we really want to aim to be relatable, inviting anyone that walks through the door, that this is a possibility for them to study further. And a cool thing about narratives is really to show if they're younger, or, at the same age as you, where were you at in your journey at their age, right? So, someone said earlier, like, this sparked my interest, was learning about black holes. And really talking about your obstacles and challenges. I think a lot of times people see scientists as these geniuses that have some natural ability that is greater than what they have. But we've all, obviously we know more than them because we studied extensively, but we don't have some like golden touch, when at birth that we were scientific geniuses. So really talking about your obstacles and challenges is really helpful in people relating and how you got over those to get where you are today. And humanizing your journey. So Allie was talking about this story. So this is from our Physics Quest program that we run, and we always do a cover story of someone in that field. And in 2023, our Physics Quest kits were about waves. And a young woman named Nia Burrell was our cover story. And in her story, she was really in middle school, interested in photography. So she connected and now she works in optics. So her connection to photography really informed what she does today. So talking about that connection is really powerful in connecting audiences to what you do. And then another thing to think about as you're talking to these participants is avoiding jargon. So we have another kind of participation for you all to do. So think about what jargon, think about the demo that you'll be presenting, or just jargon within your field, and write a few pieces of jargon into the chat of things that you think are field specific that the public might not know what it means automatically, and put some in the chat.
Non-Newtonian fluid. Marangoni flow. Yep. Fluid. Yeah, let's start just with what's a fluid. Topology, floppy models, Healy-Shaw cell, entropy. Yep. Processive motion, compliance, plastic. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a lot.
in different forms for sure.
Surface tension. Condensed matter, I would say, right? Like,
yes,
that's a jargon term. Soft condensed matter, that's a jargon term. Polymer, granular. Yes, all of these are good examples.
So we have another challenge. So I like to, when I'm presenting jargon, give the definition first and then say the word. So I study what happens when light waves meet. This is called wave interference. So inviting them to words they know first and then giving them the word, because if they don't remember the word wave interference, that's not going to affect their experience. But if they hear wave interference and they have no idea what you're talking about and they feel kind of triggered by that, they might turn their ears off and just stop listening. So if anyone could take one of these jargon words that you just put in and provide a way you could talk to an 8-year-old and explain what that is, we would love volunteers, either in the chat or out loud if we have any brave volunteers. So take your jargon word and what definition could you preempt your jargon word with?
and we're modeling right now that wait time that Nicole talked about earlier.
I'm not uncomfortable. Some people sing the Jeopardy song in their head for wait time. Do, 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 do.
I apologize, Nicole. Did you ask us to come up with examples right now?
Yeah, like a definition for your
Oh,
jargon
oh.
term. How could you explain it to an 8-year-old if
Okay.
an 8-year-old was in front of you?
Sorry, I turned into an 8-year-old for
Oh,
me.
no, please. Yeah, no worries. So
So
someone says, oh, go ahead. How a soft something can be important. How soft something is can be important. We call this compliance because it has to do with the material and the shape. Great. Awesome. I study the spreading of water due to different surface properties. This is called Marangoni flow. Awesome. These are great. So yeah, say words they know and then give the word, the jargon word as like an afterthought. You know, if they hang on to it, great. If not, it'll flow over their head. But if you do it the other way, you might stop them in their tracks a little bit. Awesome. Use diagrams and pictures. If you have visuals, that's great, especially for people who English isn't their first language. It's always nice to have visuals and pictures. And err on the side of caution. Expect that people might not know the words that you're using and just define everything. You know how if you push it too far, sometimes it doesn't come back. That's beyond elastic plastic. Great. Awesome. Awesome. So these are the tips that we have for you. We think it's important to practice. This is great practice. All of you that have contributed to the chat, try to find people outside of your science circle to kind of interact with and see if they understand, you know, what you're saying in your demo. Test your demo out with people before running it. All of these will just help you be a little more plastic in your talking when you get to the event. And you know, we welcome any questions. And just as a plug, we had some quotes and some things from our Quantum to Go program, which is opening on February 12th. So if you are interested in doing more public engagement and you do anything with the quantum field or know people, feel free to go to this website. And in the fall, we do a Physicist to Go program, which is on any topic, not just quantum. So it's all on the same website. So you can sign up for the mailing list to be on Physicist to Go in the fall and talk about your research. Or if you have anything to do with quantum fields, you can sign up for the spring session. And we thank you all for your participation, and we would love if the organizers have any information they would like to share as we wrap up, or if anyone has any questions or comments, please let us know.
Thank you, Ali and Nicole. I just wanted to tell all the volunteers who are present here that we will be sending a Google form to you that will allow you to choose among the various activities that will be running. So if you yourself are not proposing an activity, you can then decide among a set of options which activity you would like to help with. So look out for that in your email.
Thank you for that. And so if you are choosing an activity that you have not designed yourself, definitely make sure to once that assignment is confirmed, you know, talk about whoever developed the activity, talk with them about what their goals are, you know, what they want to make sure to convey in the interaction, so you can be prepared with that.